Hey everyone, I'm Mark, and welcome to part 1 of my 2-part video series about the Kids Kingdom Time Capsule. Behind me is the former Christopher Rhodes Elementary School in Warwick, Rhode Island, where in 1987 this community had just finished building a giant new wooden playground called Kids Kingdom. At the time the playground was finished, a time capsule was buried beneath it to commemorate the occasion. I should know, I was 8 years old at the time, and this was my elementary school. Now in 2019, with the school about to be torn down for redevelopment, the capsule was just recovered this past August and opened last week during an event at City Hall. 32 years after being put into the ground, and even more amazingly, some 15 plus years after all traces of the former playground were gone, how exactly did I even find it? And what was inside? Well, in the video of the time capsule opening event, I do briefly explain how I came to locate it and organize the recovery effort. And despite there being some neat things in there, the condition of the contents was a bit disappointing, especially the things made of paper. So if you haven't seen that video, I've included a link down in the description, and I do recommend you check it out. The event was also covered locally by the Warwick Beacon, and I've included a link to their article in the description as well for anyone who'd like more of the background information that I'm not necessarily getting into here today. What I wanted to talk about in this video is the science behind what happened to the time capsule and its contents during 32 years of being buried in the ground. We had a time capsule made of metal, a 2-part aluminum canister taped along the seam, which was sealed inside of a plastic tube, a section of PVC pipe with caps glued securely on both ends. It sure seemed air and water tight, and everything was dry when it came out of the ground. So what went wrong then? Well, as it turns out, a lot of things. As far as the paper items are concerned, they all likely collectively contributed to their own demise. Unless a paper is specifically manufactured to be acid-free, it can contain acidic compounds that will damage the paper and anything near it over time. This acidity usually comes from the residual lignin left in the wood pulp used to make the paper. Lignin is a sort of protein glue that holds the fibers together in the form of wood. Some papers are cheaper than others and have more lignin left in them, making them more acidic. Newsprint is one of these, so the newspaper article was especially problematic. This acidic characteristic, by the way, is also what causes paper to turn yellow over time. Though not as bad as the newsprint, the paper used for the buy-a-board fundraising ledger sheets doesn't appear to be acid-free, and neither do the inks used to handwrite and decorate them. And it's not just those papers and inks. The sticky labels on the cassette tape, the sticky label from the outside of the aluminum canister, which had entirely disintegrated, and even the adhesives from the tape used to seal it all contributed. But perhaps one of the worst offenders, and something you might least suspect, was the PVC tube everything was sealed in. After all, the tube did a pretty good job of keeping everything at least mostly dry, and that's certainly something you want to do when making a time capsule. It's debatable whether some humidity may have worked its way in over time, but that isn't the problem here. You see, PVC, or polyvinyl chloride, isn't an especially stable plastic. It outgasses acid vapor and other VOCs, or volatile organic compounds, over time. It's also worth mentioning that there likely would have been some residual developing chemicals in the photograph, which combined with all the other acidic paper and plastic would have been slowly releasing acidic molecules into the air in the capsule over time. All of these acidic and otherwise reactive molecules entering the tiny amount of air in the capsule would have quickly turned things caustic, causing further damage to all things paper and even the aluminum itself. There are places where what appears to be galvanic corrosion has eaten all the way through the metal. This sort of corrosion usually only happens when there's direct contact between dissimilar metals, like aluminum, and the capsule and the steel in the screws holding the cassette tape together. These wouldn't have been directly touching, though. However, a small amount of humidity making its way in from the surrounding soil over time and mixing with the caustic air could have been enough to make the spaces between the metals conductive, resulting in the formation of these holes. Right now, I'm in the process of preserving the time capsule artifacts to protect them from further damage and prepare them to be displayed publicly. Later on in a second video, I'll be talking about some of the preservation and restoration techniques used, showing you the end results, and talking a bit about time capsules in general, so stay tuned for that. In the meantime, I've included a few extra links down in the description so you can hear the audio recovered from the time capsule cassette tape and watch the original playground construction video from 1987 if you like. And don't forget to watch the time capsule opening if you haven't already. If you've enjoyed this video, then I hope you'll give it a like and maybe share it. And if you subscribe to my channel and hit the bell icon, you'll get a notification when part 2 comes out, which will hopefully be sometime next week or so. Thanks for watching!